Dosh, dough, folding stuff. Lolly, lucre. Moolah, reddies, spondulix. Wad, wonga. Shekels, rolling in the Benjamins. Bread and honey. What am I talking about? Money. When we're given a £10 note, do we ever wonder or worry that this note has lost its value before we spend it? Or perhaps put it in the bank, if we can find one. That we deposit it as £10, and when we look on our bank balance, we expect to see £10, not £9.50. We have faith that what it says is 10 and it will be worth 10. We have confidence in it. We actually have a promise by the Queen, promising the bearer that the Bank of England will honour this. That means we don't have to worry about it. We don't have to keep checking about its value. The Bible also has promises and reassurances regarding our future. It gives lots of guidance on money and what to do with it. It's certainly covered in great detail. Continuing the series on the same storm, different boat, I would like to discuss the boat of finance. As with other talks in this series, it's fair to say no one boat fits all. If a boat represents our lives, then there's a diverse fleet out there of all shapes and sizes. And as with money, some have a lot, some not so much, and some not much at all. Some deal with debt very well and can cope with it, managing fine. Others are owing and the debt is building up. And yet there's some without any debt at all. A real mixed fleet. Before we look at the Bible, in such times of uncertainty, certainly economically, and for those who are facing tough financial times, I would just like to share a personal experience, which I believe gives me a good understanding of such issues and their effects on the family. As a child, I still remember the collapse of my father's business. And as the months and years went on, increasing stress, anger and sorrow throughout the family. The loss of our home, and for years on, endless blame and regret. My parents at the time were not following God and missed out on his guidance and peace. Philippians 4 verses 6 to 7 starts with, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, petition as it were, with thanksgiving, present your requests. Times of trouble will come and go, but God's promises remain constant. How many verses in the Bible talk about money? Well, let's compare it to faith and prayer. They total 500. Money, 2,350. In fact, Jesus talks more about money in the Bible than he does about heaven or hell. Why? Is it because we spend more time talking about money than heaven and hell? 11 of his 40 parables were about money and how to manage it. God knows our attitude towards money. It's an indication of where our heart is. We spend a lot of time thinking about it, how to earn it, keep it, save it, spend it, invest it, share it, protect it. Money is a major factor in our lives. Hence Jesus talks so much about it. Things have not changed in the last 2,000 plus years. We will either follow gold or God. We can't have two masters. There's not room for two number ones in our lives. Luke 16 verse 13. Let me read this. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate one or love the other, or you will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. I like a quote from a chap in America Baptist pastor, Brandon Park, and puts it this way: it's either wallet or worship when we look for our source of security. Money management, I believe, is a spiritual discipline. God is watching how we handle it. What can he trust us with? Let's look at a popular parable in Matthew 25, parable of the talents. Here, a rich man is going on a long journey. Before he leaves, he entrusts 3 of his servants with his wealth. He gives them allocated amounts, goes away, and on his return asks the servants to give account of what they've done with it. Talents. Biblically refers to a Hebrew unit or a specific weight, not ones of gifts and abilities. This parable is definitely about money management. What's a talent worth? Well, according to Wikipedia, ancient Israel adopted the Babylonian weight talent of approximately 30 kilos, and the Roman talent is very similar at 33 kilos. So, 1 talent of silver today would be worth 16,500. If it was gold, 1.4 million. Whatever the material, we're talking big numbers. In context for the audience of the day, as a unit of currency, the talent was worth about 6,000 denarii. And then a denarii was a common payment for a day's labour. First verse. Let's look at the word his. Who called his servants, and to them his property entrusted. Consider the principle that everything you have belongs to God. Mind, body, energy, all from God, including your money. Psalm 24 confirms this, amongst many verses in the Old Testament. The earth is the Lord's, and everything in it, the world, and all who live in it. Rick Warren puts it like this: everything you own is actually on loan. When we're born, we come into this world with nothing. When we die, we leave with nothing. God has loaned us money, different amounts. We vary in wealth, some more, some less. All the servants got something. In verse 16, he who had received the 5 talents went at once and traded with them. Money is to be used, put to work. Use it as a tool. Many times you will have heard that money is the root of all evil. Classic misquote. The Bible actually says the love of money is the root of all evil. Let's be careful. Money is neutral. It has no mind of its own, no good or bad, neither selfish or unselfish. Bless the world with what you do with it. It's a wonderful servant and a terrible master when it causes stress. It causes stress when it's in control. You choose what you do with it. God watches, being responsible for your talents. What did you do with it? Verse 19. Now, after a long time, the master, whose servants came and settled the accounts with them. We need to be able at some time to explain what we've done with our God-given talents. We need to be accountable. One day God will audit us on what we've done with our gifts, our resources, our intellect, our energy, and including our money. Romans 14:12 tells us each of us will have to give an account of himself to God. Go back to the servants. What did they do? The first servant, who was given 5, came back with 10. The second servant, similar result. Had 2, came back with 4. The third servant, however, not such a good story. Starting with blaming the master, he simply goes and buries it in a field. Why? Let's look at verse 25. I was so afraid and I went and hid your talents in the ground. Fear, self-doubt, failure, self-conscious, self-pity, based on previous failures. He didn't invest. He did nothing with his talents. He buried them and forgot them. The reply from the master in verse 27, then you ought to have invested my money with the bankers, and at my coming I should receive what was my own with interest. There's a warning. We must use God's money wisely, not to sit on it, hoard it, bury it. It's a tool which is meant to be used. God will reward us for good money management. God's affirmation, God will say, good and faithful servant, and come and share in the celebration. Martin Luther is quoted in saying, there are 3 conversions necessary. The conversion of the heart, the conversion of the mind, and the conversion of the purse. Let us be the best stewards of our God-given gifts. At all times, regardless of our situation, and ask Him through prayer to guide us on what to do, on what has been given to us, large or small. Follow His plan, and we can look forward to God saying to us, well done, good and faithful servant.